Hello guys, welcome to the C++ tutorial series. In this video, we will learn about the range-based for loop in C++. My name is Kafui and welcome to my channel multi.dev. Please subscribe and like to help the channel grow and turn on the bell notification icon to get notified whenever I release a content on the channel. With that said, let's dive in. The range-based for loop in C++ is a convenient way to iterate over elements in a collection or a container such as arrays, vectors, sets, and map. So in this video, I'll show you or I'll demonstrate to you how to iterate over vectors, sets, and map using the range-based for loop. So I'll start with vectors by including the vector header using the include directive, and then I'll go ahead and define a vector quickly. This will be a vector of integers with the name numbers, and then I'll initialize it to random numbers quickly and then terminate this. So this is how we define a vector in C++. I have created or I have videos on how to define vectors, sets, and map in C++. So I'll encourage you to check on those videos. So I'll go ahead and use the range-based for loop to iterate over this vector by writing the for keyword and then in parentheses the data type of integer, then the placeholder to the elements in this vector, so that will be number, then colon, the name of the vector, and then in curly braces I'll just go ahead stdc out, then individual elements, and then print a new line after the elements. So in order to iterate over a container and then for a vector in this example, you use this range-based for loop, and this is the syntax, starting with the for keyword, and then in parentheses you write the data type of the individual elements in the vector, and then this number over here stands as a placeholder for the individual elements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this can be any variable name. So this can be element, or in most code you see EL being used for short. So I'll just go ahead and use this, or otherwise you see what I did, just using the singular form of the name of the vector. So I have a vector with the name numbers, so just using number to represent the individual element, and then the colon, then the name of the vector, which specifies the name of the container. So depending on the container you are working with or the collection you are working with, in this case we are working with vector, so the name of the vector. So when I go ahead and run my code with Shift plus F10 shortcut, you see that the individual numbers or elements are printed in the console 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is how we can iterate over a vector in C++. The next one we'll look at is set. So I'll go ahead and then include the set header using the include directive, right, set here, and then go ahead and define a set. This one will use character data type and say letters, and then set it to A, B, C, D. I think this is okay. So we just have a set of characters, and we know that sets are unique. We don't have to have duplicate elements in a set. So in order to iterate over this set or iterate through this set, we use the for keyword using the range-based for loop. Then we know that the individual elements are characters, then a placeholder for them, and colon, then the name of the set, and then in curly braces I'll just go ahead stdc out the individual letter, and then print them on a new line, print a new line after the individual characters. So what I did was I used the range-based for loop, then stating the data type of the individual element, which is character. In some cases whereby you don't know the data type of the elements, or you want the compiler to deduce the data type for you, you can use the auto specifier to denote to the compiler that in order for the compiler to deduce the data type or to automatically deduce the data type of the elements in that container for you. So when I use the auto specifier. You see my IDE gives me this notification over here that is a type of character data type. So I'll just go ahead and change it back to character, because we all know that these are characters, or these are of data type character. So when I go ahead and run my code, you see the individual characters being outputted in the console for us. So this is how we can use the range based for loop to loop over a set. So you just have to, so this letter over here is just like a placeholder for the individual elements. So when I change this to elements and then change what I'm outputting here to element, sorry, it should be what, singular. When I run my code, we still what, get the same results in the console. So but the name of the container, in this case the set or the vector, should be the same. So when I write a different name, let's say elements, when I write a different name, we get what, an error. So you should make sure you have that. So I'll just change this back to letter. I prefer this approach. Now the last one we'll look at is how to iterate through what, a map using the range based for loop. So I'll go ahead, use the include directive and include map quickly, and then comment this one out. Then I'll go ahead and define a map. So std, use the map over here. I'll use data type of string and then integer, and the name of my map will be test scores. Then assign it, and yeah, I'll use the name of Bob and a score of 90. Another one, I'll use a name of Alice and a score of, let's say, 80. And finally I'll use a name of John and a score of 70, and save. I'll just include the string header here quickly. So let me write that properly. Include the string header, and we are good to go, and save. So now how do we loop through this map using the range based for loop? So I'll just go ahead using the for keyword in parentheses. I'll use the auto specifier here to tell the compiler to automatically deduce the type of the data type of the elements in the map. And then I'll use a placeholder. I'll just use el as in elements over here, and then the name of my map, which is what, test scores. And then in curly braces I'll just output stdc out. And we know that in maps the individual the key value pairs have the first and second data variables or member variables. So I'll just say on the key, in order to access this, I'll say the element, then using the dot notification, the first, then I'll say scored, then the element dot what, second, using the second member variable, and then print a new line after that, and save. So what I just did was I used what, the range based for loop to loop through what, this map, and then I'm using the auto specifier here to tell the compiler to automatically deduce the data type of the individual element. And you can see we have a string and then integer, then colon, then the name of my map, and then in curly braces I'm just outputting the individual element, the key, and then scored, then the value. So we are using these data variables or member variables that are available to maps in C++, which is the first and second member variables, to access the key and then the value. And when I go ahead and run my code, hopefully we get this: Alice scored 80, Bob scored 90, and John scored 70. So this is how we can use the range based for loop to loop through containers or collections such as array, set, map in C++. That is it for this video. If you have any question, put them in the comment section for discussion. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.